screens, please. Please mute. Anjali. And we will unmute only at the end of class. These are some of our house rules. All questions will be taken at the end of class. So kindly sit with some notepad. और जो भी क्वेश्चंस आपके दिमाग में आए वो उसी वक्त लिख लें, क्योंकि भूल जाएंगे टुवर्ड्स द एंड ऑफ क्लास, और फिर एंड में हम इनको डिस्कस करेंगे. दैट वे वी विल बी एबल टू फिनिश ऑन टाइम, वरना क्लास टाइम पे खत्म नहीं होगी और वर्सेस हम ज्यादा कवर नहीं कर पाएंगे. ठीक है? सो एंड प्लीज कीप योरसेल्फ म्यूटेड एट ऑल टाइम्स. सो पेज नंबर 1 खोलेंगे और आप प्रेयर्स मेरे साथ पढ़ेंगे, बट इन योर म्यूटेड फॉर्म. आई विल रीड देम लाउडली. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं. वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च. श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखावितांश्च. हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते. तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद. हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने. नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे. So welcome everyone to our second class of Bhagavad Gita. We covered 9 verses in our first class, और key points जो हमने देखे वो ये थे कि सबसे पहले what is Bhagavad Gita, why should we read the Bhagavad Gita. So Lord Shiva himself is explaining that the sum total of all the scriptures is the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And if one just scrutinizingly studies the Bhagavad Gita, it is to be understood that he has read all the other Vedas and the Purans and the Itihasas. So 18 major Purans or 18 minor Purans हैं. And शिव पद्म पुराण में से ये गीत महात्म्य के verses हमने पढ़े थे. We also saw the first verse, which is the most important verse. Dhritarashtra is telling Sanjay, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do? तो ये बहुत important question था. It's like saying कि रेस्टोरेंट में आप उनको लेकर गए और उनके सामने खाना परोसा, फिर उन्होंने क्या किया? It's not a very intelligent question, because you are asking कि उनके सामने खाना परोसकर उन्होंने क्या किया? Well, obviously they ate food. So this was not his intention. Actually वो ये पूछना चाह रहे थे कि क्या युद्ध हुआ या युद्ध में compromise हो गया? Because Dhritarashtra did not want a compromise. He did not want कि कौरवों में और पांडवों में कहीं संधि हो जाए, because पांडव दिल के they are righteous by nature और धर्म के साथ चलते हैं वो, तो कहीं ये दोनों संधि ना कर लें. It was his महत्वाकांक्षा कि मैं राजा नहीं बन पाया लेकिन मेरा बेटा ही राजा बने, because he is able and fit, and I being the elder brother, my son only should be the rightful owner. So इतने सारे meanings हमने देखे in the first verse. And उसके बाद we saw what a politician Duryodhan is. Of course, he has been raised in the environment of his father's enviousness. So he has inherited that same consciousness and that same mood. So he feels he's the rightful owner to the throne. And so he, being the diplomat that he is, he goes and he asks Dronacharya on whether he's to test whether he's mentally prepared. Of course, he saw that everybody was physically prepared and present on the battlefield, but he was checking how mentally prepared they are. क्योंकि वो common teacher थे, कौरवों के भी, पांडवों के भी. So everybody knew that they were very affectionate to the Pandavas, but now they were standing to fight against the Pandavas. So Duryodhan was at unease that will they fight to their full capacity, or they will only fight as a lip service just to show that they are fighting out of obligation to Duryodhan. So that's why very craftily and very cunningly he asks, in fact, he reminds Dronacharya that, look, Drupad's son is the commander-in-chief of the opposite army right now in front of us. And Drupad is your enemy. And you chose to educate and give this military education to his son, the commander-in-chief, and your given education he has used now against you to arrange the phalanx, the army of the Pandavas. And Duryodhan was actually surprised. And there was fear also in his heart that how come with lesser army compared to his and lesser facilities compared to him and even no financial support compared to him, how were they able to arrange their phalanx so expertly that it looks impenetrable? So these were some of the things that we saw. And verse तो आप सबने याद किया ही है. Who would like to go first? कोई first verse याद करके आया है? Would they like to recite it? Anjali?
धृतराष्ट्र उवाच धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेतायुत्सव मामका पांडवाश्च किं कुर्वत संजय.
Excellent. Well done. See?
टेक्स्ट की तरह बोला बिल्कुल. Not like just you all say.
Doesn't matter. That comes with practice. You know, you are trying to say first day of football class और मैंने गोल क्यों नहीं किया? So no, you kicked the ball well. So good. Anybody else who would like to attempt the verse, the first verse, which is very significant?
I will try.
Kaun? Who is
Prachi.
it?
Prachi.
Yes, Prachi. Please go ahead.
धृतराष्ट्र उवाच धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेता युत्सवा मामका पांडवेश्चव्य किम कुर्वत संजया.
या ये आप बाय हार्ट करके बोल रहे हैं या पढ़ के बोल रहे हैं?
पढ़ के.
अच्छा, okay. Okay, nice. So now we come to verse number 9. I hope everything is clear up to verse number 10. 9th तक सब clear है. The stage has been set. We are at the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and कौरव और पांडव अपनी full strength में आ चुके हैं. The place is Jyotisar in Kurukshetra. It is still there. You can visit it. And now both the parties are assessing each other's strength and each other's preparedness. Okay, verse number 10. Who would like to read? Hurry up, don't have much time.
Anita,
Yes.
this is Vaiji. Hi.
Yes, Vaiji.
Okay, I'll try, but you
Yeah.
know, there are mistakes, just correct me.
Yeah, sure.
अपर्याप्तं तदस्माकं बलं भीष्माभिरक्षितं पर्याप्तं त्विदमे तेषां बलं भीमाभिरक्षितम्.
Very nice. Looks like you are already seasoned in reading it. So, can you read the translation as well?
Sure. Our strength is immeasurable, and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma, whereas the strength of the Pandavas, carefully protected by Bhima, is limited.
Can you read the previous translation also so that we get the flow?
Of the ninth one,
Yes.
okay. There are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. All of them are well equipped with different kinds of weapons, and all are experienced in military science.
Yeah. And then the current verse?
Our strength is immeasurable, and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma, whereas the strength of the Pandavas, carefully protected by Bhima, is limited.
Yeah. So here, Duryodhan is reassuring himself and also reassuring his army that he's making an estimation of the comparative strength of both the parties, because he thinks that the strength of his armed forces is immeasurable. Why? Because grandfather Bhishma is in charge, and it was a well-known fact that Bhishma se bada warrior koi nahi tha, even though he was old. He was 2 generations older than him, yet he was the greatest warrior on planet Earth at that time. So, because Bhishma, grandfather Bhishma, was their commander in chief, therefore he felt that they were very protected. Whereas on the Pandav side, it was the much younger Bhim. So he felt that Bhim was just like a fig in the presence of Bhishma. And he was no great threat, nor was he a challenge. But deep inside, he also had this fear, because this was also a well established fact that if at all, if Duryodhan dies, only Bhim can kill him. So he knew that Bhim was his equal in strength. And nobody could defeat him or even kill him except Bhim. So his conclusion that he would come out of this battle victorious was well ascertained in his mind, that it's grandfather Bhishma vis-a-vis Bhim. All these are reassurances that he is giving to pep up the morale of his army and his own self too. Because again, the underlying mood here, the feeling here of Duryodhan is fear. Fear of the outcome of the battle. Okay, 11th verse. Yeah, if nobody comes forward, maybe Vaiji can read it again.
Okay. Can I read it then?
Yes, please.
Okay, verse 11.
Verse 11.
Ayaneshu cha sarveshu yada bhagam avastitaha bhishmamevabhirakshantu bhavanta sarva eva hi.
Okay. Translation.
All of you must now give full support to Grandfather Bhishma as you stand at your respective strategic points of entrance into the phalanx of the army.
So again, the cunningness of Duryodhan is projected here, that he has been praising Bhishma as of now, the glories of Bhishma, but there are other stalwarts also present on the field. You know, there is Dronacharya, there is Kritvarma, there are all the other peers of Bhishma, grandfather Bhishma. So Duryodhan did not want them to feel any lesser than Bhishma because he had glorified Bhishma so much. So just to give them also their due credit and for them not to feel any lesser or belittled than him, he's trying to adjust the situation here in the above words. He emphasized that Bhishma Dev was undoubtedly the greatest hero. But we all know that he was a very old man. Unko ichha mrityu ka vardhan mila hua tha, which means that he could give up his life whenever he wanted. So he was a grand old man. He was 2 generations back. And so everyone must specially think of his protection from all sides. So as you stand at your respective strategic points of entrance into the phalanx of the army, he was confident of the full support of both Bhishma Dev and Dronacharya in the battle. Because, why was he so confident? Because he knew that both Bhishma and Dronacharya did not speak a word when Draupadi was being disrobed in the sabha. उन्होंने एक उंगली भी या एक शब्द भी प्रोटेस्ट का नहीं बोला था when Duryodhan ordered Draupadi to be disrobed in the sabha in front of all of them. So this gave Duryodhan confidence that they were on his side. They were obliged to fight on his side and that they would fight. They were by their heart and soul on his side. So this gave him the confidence that they would do their best and they would fight with their might and they would not, even if they had any softness in their heart for the Pandavas, that would be overruled by the feeling of duty that they felt towards Duryodhan. So he's trying to keep all the parties happy by his diplomatic behavior. This is what he's trying to do in this verse. Have I showed that to you? No. Okay, here. Yeah. So the word here that is of significance is aparyaptam. Aparyaptam ka literal meaning hai, as you can see, paryapt means sufficient and aparyaptam means insufficient. So now aparyaptam can be used in 2 ways. It can be used either as insufficient or it can be used as immeasurable. He's trying to say that the strength of my army, because it is headed by Bhishma, the grandsire, is aparyaptam, which means it is immeasurable. But at the same time, it's a pun. It can go either ways because it also means insufficient. Why? Because he may have the biggest weapons and army and phalanx, the Narayani Seva on his side, but who is there on the other side? Even though he's weaponless, Shri Krishna. So even though he feels that his army is aparyaptam, at the same time it really could also be insufficient. There is a dual meaning to this word. So the Acharyas are explaining it in this way, that the Pandavas are of course protected by Bhim, who is very insignificant to Bhishma, but at the same time Krishna is on their side. And in the 11th verse, Duryodhan, it is highlighting the diplomacy of Duryodhan. He was fit to be a king with all the diplomacy and politics that he used. Okay, 12th verse. Anyone?
मैं करूँ ट्राई?
हाँ बिल्कुल करिए, प्लीज डू.
तस्य संजनयन् हर्षं कुरुवृद्धः पितामहः सिंहनादं विनद्योच्चैः शङ्खं दध्मौ प्रतापवान्.
Okay, translation.
Then Bhishma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conch shell very loudly, making a sound like the roar of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy.
Now, Bhishma, being the grandfather and such an experienced old man, although Duryodhan camouflages his cunningness and his fear very well, but Bhishma can understand his heart. He knows that his grandnephew is fearful about the outcome of the battle. And there is natural compassion in his heart, even for Duryodhan. For Bhishma Dev, both the Kurus and the Pandavas were very dear to him. So he could understand that Duryodhan मन से अंदर से डरा हुआ है और outcome जो है इस युद्ध का उसको लेकर चिंतित भी है और he's worried about the result, the future of his kingdom. So just out of compassion and understanding the heart of Duryodhan, Bhishma Dev blows his conch shell. So back in the day, even today, जब युद्ध शुरू होना होता है, there is a clarion call. Of course, we use modern equipment and bugle or some sort of a siren. But in olden days, जब युद्ध शुरू होने वाला होता था, तो दोनों sides पहले चेतावनी एक दूसरे को देने के लिए शंख बजाते थे और सबका एक यूनिक शंख होता था, उसका एक नाम भी होता था. And that used to be the clarion call that I am prepared now for war. We are ready. Are you ready? That was the etiquette even to start a war. So there were a lot of etiquettes that were followed even in a world war at that time. So just to give reassurance to Duryodhan, immediately Bhishma Dev picks up his conch shell and he blows it. It's making the sound like the roar of a lion. Why? Because Bhishma Dev here is compared to a lion. You know, even if a lion is old and aging, तब भी जंगल में अगर आपके आमना सामना किसी old lion से भी हो जाए, तब भी आप घबराओगे. शिकारी भी घबराता है, because that is the reputation and position of a lion. So the sound of his trumpet resembled the roar of a lion. And this gave great joy to the heart of Duryodhan. Why? Because it felt like the victory is theirs. And Bhishma Dev, if Bhishma Dev उतर गए हैं मैदान में लड़ने के लिए, तो और कोई नहीं जीत सकता उनके सामने, because he was an undefeated king at that time. Okay, let me see whether all the points have been covered. Bhishma, out of compassion to cheer Duryodhan, blew the conch shell very loudly. Duryodhan's defeat is certain. Why? Because Krishna is on the other side. Now Bhishma has blown the trumpet, but in his heart, Bhishma is convinced that they are not winning this war. Now he's not telling this to Duryodhan, but his experience, his wisdom, tells him that since Krishna is not on their side, it's impossible for them to win. How much ever technical know-how and material preparedness they may have. So why is Bhishma fighting them? Why is he still there on the side of Duryodhan? As a matter of duty. Bhishma was known to keep his vow and to live his life for the sake of his vow. It was not an easy life. He was a Kshatriya. And as a Kshatriya, to take the vow of celibacy is the most difficult vow that a Kshatriya can have, because they have to be in the mode, in the Rajasic bhav to be a Kshatriya. And to be in the mode of passion and not to marry and not to have an heir to the throne is the most difficult kind of austerity that one can practice. And Bhishma Dev practiced it not for just for one generation, but 2 generations. So you can imagine कि वो अपनी austerity से कितने अपने soul को उन्होंने कितना तपा दिया था और कितना strong बना दिया था, that he was now fighting only as a matter of duty. Because at that time, the king, practically the unspoken king of the world was Dhritarashtra. So he had all the financial powers, he had all the military facilities, and Duryodhan was providing these military facilities both to Dronacharya and to Bhishma Dev. So both of them were obliged. Out of obligation, they were fighting, although they knew that this is not as per the part of Dharma. But because of their allegiance and because of the vow that Bhishma had taken and because of the obligation that Drona felt, they were doing it as a matter of duty. This fact was concealed from Duryodhana. His cunningness could reach to understand this. Okay, verse 13. If we want to go fast and cover more verses, we should be ready. The next person should be ready with their hands raised that I'm going to read this verse. Anna?
Shall I try?
Yes, please, Emma.
ततः शङ्कश्च भैर्यश्च पणवानकगोमुखः सहसैवाभ्यहन्यन्त स शब्दस्तु मूलोऽभवत्. After that, the conch shells, drums, pugils, trumpets,
Beautiful.
and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous.
Yeah. So Bhishma Dev, being the commander in chief, सबसे पहला शंख उन्होंने बजाया और उनका शंख बजाने के बाद the rest of the army सभी ने अपने अपने respective आर्मी में ग्रेड्स होते हैं. फुट सोल्जर होता है, फिर घुड़सवार होते हैं, फिर हाथी सवार होते हैं. तो सबका स्टेटस होता है युद्ध में एंड अपने अपने स्टेटस के हिसाब से इनको इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स दिए होते हैं टू प्ले द क्लैरियन कॉल. तो सबने अपने अपने इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स उसके बाद एक साथ बजाए और वो किस तरह के इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स थे वो यहाँ पे डिस्क्राइब किया हुआ है. कॉन्च शेल व्हिच इज शंख, ड्रम्स, bugles, trumpets and horns. All of these were blown together. So it made a huge, tumultuous sound, they are saying it made. तो युद्ध की एक बहुत ही भीषण गर्जना की गई कौरवों की तरफ से. That's what it was. Okay, verse 14. Prachi, Monica. Vaiji, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'll read.
Yeah.
Tatasveter higher yukte mahati syandana stitau madhava pandavaschaiva divyau shankam pradakmatuhu. On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conch shells.
Yeah. So the sounding of the transcendental conch shells indicates here the significant word that is used here is transcendental. So Bhishma Dev जब अपना शंख बजाते हैं वहां पे transcendental शब्द का इस्तेमाल नहीं हुआ है, which means that that's he and his conch shell is of this material world. But Krishna and Arjun, their conch shell is described as transcendental, which means that which transcends this material world. वो इस जगत का नहीं है. That is from the spiritual world. So already when their conch shells are described as transcendental, it means that victory is on their side. They are beyond the effects of the material world and of the three modes of material nature. तीनों जो three modes हैं, सात्विक, तामसिक and राजसिक, इन तीनों modes के परे हैं कृष्ण और अर्जुन, and their fight and their conch shells will the result that is produced because of that is going to be beyond the effects of this material world, which means they are definitely the victorious side. So the great chariot drawn by white horses. It's interesting to note here कि ये जो chariot दिया गया था अर्जुन को, ये अग्निदेव ने उनको युद्ध से पहले दिया था. And ये chariot special chariot था, that this chariot would be taken not just in any direction on planet Earth, but on any of the three worlds, the 14 planetary systems that are there in this material world. This chariot was capable of going in all those 14 planetary systems, and 360 degrees it could fight. That was the USP of this chariot. It was gifted to him especially for this great war, because like we did in last class, this was a world war. ये विश्व युद्ध था. So the entire world was going to use its entire strength that was available to them in every aspect and respect against each other. So to prepare Arjun and to prepare the Pandavas, since they were on the losing side, they did not have any financial support from anywhere, the Devatas came to their rescue. So yeah, here the word that is used for Krishna is Madhav. There is a reason why this word has been used here. It's very significant because Madhav means the husband of the goddess of fortune. Madhav का मतलब है वो जो लक्ष्मी के husband है. And who is Lakshmi? The goddess of all fortune. So in the last verse of Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned Yatra Yogeshwaraha Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdanaha, Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutir, Dhruva Matir Gatir Mama. Which means कि जहाँ पे goddess of fortune present है और जहाँ पे Krishna present है और जहाँ पे Arjun present है, वहाँ पर victory, Shri Vijayo Bhutir, वहाँ पर victory, opulence by default present होगी ही होगी, because they are inseparable from each other. Wherever there is Krishna and wherever there is Arjun, there the goddess of fortune, their victory will automatically be present. So the moment Krishna and Arjun blow their transcendental conch shells, already goddess of fortune is present there in all her spaciousness. So regardless of whatever strength and prosperity the Kauravas may be enjoying on planet Earth, being the kings of the world, the entire planet Earth at that time, they are still no match in front of Madhav. One Madhav alone is enough to counter their material opulence, their wealth. Because Krishna is the master of all wealth. So kya match hai unki? That's the significance. So it will be very interesting as we read. Krishna is addressed by different names throughout the Bhagavad Gita. And it's not that these names have been addressed, have been called to him just whimsically. There is a reason why Krishna is addressed by different names, because ये उनकी कोई एक quality की तरफ हमारा ध्यान आकर्षित कर रहे हैं कि इस समय किस क्वालिटी की वजह से उनको बुलाया गया है, क्योंकि उसका सिग्निफिकेंस है इस वर्स के ऊपर उस वक्त. Okay, verse 15.
Shall I try?
Who is that?
Meena.
Yes, verse 15 पढ़िए.
पंचजन्य ऋषिकेशो देवदत्तं धनंजय पांडरं दद्मो महाशंखं भीमकर्मावृकोदरा.
Okay, please read the translation.
Lord Krishna blew his conch shell called Panchjanya. Arjun blew his the Devdatta. The Bhima, the voracious eater and performer of Herculean tasks, blew his terrific conch shell called Pandura.
Yeah. So a nice table has been made here of all the conch shells. Krishna, what is the name of Krishna's conch shell? Panchajanya. और अर्जुन का conch shell जो है शंख है उसका नाम है देवदत्त. भीम के conch shell का नाम है पौंड्र. युधिष्ठिर आगे आएगा. युधिष्ठिर uses Anant Vijaya, Nakul uses Sughosh, and Sahadev uses Mani Pushpak. Okay, so he's showing here that Bhim, the voracious eater and performer of the Herculean tasks, blew his terrific conch shell called the Pondra. Can you read the verses till 18? Because they're all interconnected, and then together I will talk about all of them. इस वक्त सभी के conch shells का नाम लिया जा रहा है. Please read 16 to 18 also.
Should I try?
You can. Well, today Anita does not want to try. Sorry, Monica.
Can I try today?
Yeah, you can.
One second. अनंत विजयम राजा कुंती पुत्रो युधिष्ठिरा नकुला सहदेवश्च सुघोषा मणिपुष्पकौ काश्याश्च परमेश्वर सह शिखंडी च महारथा दृष्टद्युम्नो विराटश्च सात्यकीश्च पराजिता द्रौपदेयश्च सर्वसा पृथ्वीपते सुभद्राश्च महाबाहो Was I audible?
No, in parts, but it's okay. You can read the translation.
I'll just.
If your internet connection is not very good, we can ask someone else to read it. Maybe YG can try again.
Okay.
Hello,
Yes,
Vanita.
YG.
You want me to read the text?
The translation of 16 to 18.
Okay.
Or
King,
you can read 16 to 18 verses again.
Okay. Ananta Vijayam Raja Kunti Putro Yudhishthirah Nakula Sahadevasya Sugosha Mani Pushpakau Kashyasya Parameshvasah Shikandi cha Maharatah Drishtadrumno Viradascha Satya Ikta Parajitah Drupado Draupadeyascha Sarvascha Prithuvipate Saubhadro Mahabahu Shankam Dadmu Pratak. King Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, blew his conch shell, the Ananta Vijaya, and Nakula and Sahadeva blew the Sughosha and Mani Pushpaka. That great archer, the king of Kashi, the great fighter Shikandi, Drishtadjumna, Virata, the unconquerable, Satyakti, Drupada, the sons of Draupadi, and the others, O king, such as the mighty armed son of Subhadra, all blew their respective conch shells.
Yeah. So these verses from 14 to 18 describe के कितने महारथी थे ये. These were not ordinary kings. Last class में हमने किया था that who is a Maharatha? जो एक अकेला 1000 chariots के साथ युद्ध कर सके. He is called a Maharatha. So these were not ordinary fighters, and all of them assembled together. How terrible this war was going to be with such great Maharathas on both sides. and with so many powers and qualities in all of them. But what is very significant here is the different words that are used. For example, Krishna here is mentioned as Rishikesh. Now, the meaning of Rishikesh is master of the senses. अब ये सिर्फ there is a meaning why, a reason why Rishikesh has been used here to describe Krishna. Krishna is the master of the senses of
Vanessa, not audible.
Yeah, she's not audible.
Yes, she's not audible.
Everybody is not able to hear, na?
No, we can't hear her.
Yeah, probably we'll just message her maybe on the chat.
She's got disconnected from Zoom
Oh,
because she's
okay.
not in the window. There might be a network issue. We can wait for her, I think.
Okay,
minutes.
I'll just send her a message anyway.
Sure, sure.
मीनू, ये सबका ही गया इंटरनेट या मेरा ही गया था?
नहीं, हमारा तो है।
पुल्स का गया था एक्चुअली, आपका वनिता भी डिस्कनेक्टेड हो गई है।
Yeah.
अपने आप ही हुआ, पता नहीं।
पीपल्स में प्रॉब्लम।
मेरा है।
अच्छा, ये एक सेकंड, ये कुहू के नाम से कौन ज्वाइन कर रखा है?
ये कुहू थे, उसके दादाजी थे, अभी उसने लीव कर दिया शायद।
हाँ,
नीलम, ये कुहू ने, मेरी बेटी मैं कविता हूँ, कुहू ने ज्वाइन किया था। कुहू ने ज्वाइन किया था, उसके दादाजी ने ज्वाइन किया था, अभी वो कहीं चले गए तो शायद लीव कर दिया।
नहीं है अभी, कोई बात नहीं, बस पूछ रही थी। और भावना बंसल,
ये मेरी सिस्टर है।
हाँ,
मेरी सिस्टर है ये।
किसकी?
भारती है।
अच्छा, भारती। और बीएम रेवती,
क्या नाम
बीएम
बोलो?
रेवती के नाम से कौन लॉगिन किया है?
BM Revati is there, no?
Yes. Please just mention your name.
एक्चुअली वीडियो और ऑडियो दोनों ऑफ है उनका।
हाँ, बट वो ज्वाइन तो कनेक्टेड तो है ना, उनका अपना वीडियो ऑडियो ऑफ है, बट शी कैन हियर।
शी इज नॉट रिस्पॉन्डिंग।
Hello, hello.
Yes, yes, please.
Yeah, Revati here. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm Manita's friend. She sent me the Zoom ID. Hello.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
You're most welcome. We just wanted to know who is there. So you're most welcome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
वो रीजॉइन कर रही है, अभी आया वनिता का फोन, डिस्कनेक्ट हो गया तो अभी रीजॉइन कर रही है।
मेरे ख्याल से हमारे विपुल में लाइट गई थी या कुछ हुआ था,
तो जिससे प्रॉब्लम है। या शी इज देयर।
Hi, did the Wi-Fi go? I think something happened with the Wi-Fi. Is
it has something has happened in Vipul because मेरा भी disconnect हो गया था।
अच्छा, हम तीनों का ही हो गया। Oh, so I think I will not be able to show you the screen then, but I can just speak The internet still hasn't come back, isn't it?
I don't know. I have switched on my data. I have stopped the Wi-Fi just to.
Yeah.
तो disturb करेगा Wi-Fi.
So same here. So it's okay. आप वो तो नहीं देख पाएंगे, but you can at least see the. Can you mute everyone, please?
आप unmute कर वनीता.
Yeah, I am unmuted. बाकी सब mute हो गए. So I will continue. You may not be able to see the screen. Is my the PPT still visible?
No.
No.
चलिए ठीक है. It's okay. It's okay. When the Wi-Fi comes back, just let me know, Vinu. Neelam, I'll try and connect back the PPT. Till then, we'll continue through my phone. ठीक है?
I have switched off my Wi-Fi because it will trouble again and again. I am using my data now.
ठीक है. Okay. All right. So what we were saying was that there is a reason why Krishna is addressed through different names. For example, जब उनको मधुसूदन बुलाया जाता है, वो इसलिए बुलाया जाता है because he killed the demon Madhu. तो जिस तरह से मधु demon को मारा, उसी तरह से उनसे request की जा रही है that may you kill all the demons of the vices in my heart too. Hey Madhusudan, this is what Arjun is requesting him. Similarly, when he is called Govinda, Go means cows. So Govind का मतलब होता है he who gives pleasure to the cows, and not only to the cows but even to our senses. हमारी इंद्रियों को जो pleasure देता है, जो खुशी देता है, उनका नाम है गोविंद. He is also known as Vasudev. Why? Because he appeared as the son of Vasudev. So this shows that Sanskrit is the most reformed language known to humankind. Every word has a specific meaning. For example, Vasudev के बेटे को वासुदेव कहा जाता है. Of Vasudev means of Vasudev. Similarly, he is known as Devaki Nandan. Why? Because he accepted Devaki as his mother. Devaki के जो नंद हैं, वो है Devaki Nandan. Similarly, Yashoda Nandan, जो यशोदा के जो नंद हैं, he is known as Yashoda Nandan because he awarded his childhood pastimes to Yashoda in Vrindavan. Similarly, उनका एक और नाम है Parthasarathy. We all know Arjun is also known as Parth. Why? Because his mother's name is Pritha. कुंती का एक और नाम पृथा भी है. तो पृथा के जो बेटे हैं, of Pritha is called Parth. So Parth के जो सारथी बने, that is Krishna. So you can see that every word is used like it's weighed in a balance most appropriately. That's the beauty of the Sanskrit language. Similarly, he is called Rishikesh, he who is the master of the senses. So when he has taken complete control and charge of Arjun's senses itself, what else is left to win the battle of not only Kurukshetra but even the battle of this life, of living in this world. Just imagine if somebody can take care of your wavering mind, which is the greatest cause of our anxiety and stress today. Is there any need to worry at all if somebody takes care of our senses or controls our own senses? So you can imagine the position of Arjun when Krishna becomes Rishikesh for him. And similarly, Arjun is referred to as Dhananjaya here. Dhananjaya का अर्थ है harbinger of wealth. He who brings a lot of wealth. इसका भी significance है because जब यज्ञ करना था युधिष्ठिर को, तो उन्होंने अपने सभी भाइयों को कहा था to go and collect as much donation as they can. At that time, Arjun was able to collect the largest donation and bring for his brother to perform that yajna. And that's why his name is also called, he's also called Dhananjay, the harbinger of great wealth. Similarly, भीम को यहाँ पे वृकोदर कहा गया है. क्यों? वृक मतलब huge and udar means stomach, he who has a huge appetite. But not only did he have just a huge appetite, he also had unparalleled strength, which is unheard of in ordinary or normal human beings. He had extraordinary strength, Bhim. So Vrikodar is also significant here. That अकेला एक भीम ही opposite कौरवों पार्टी कौरव की पार्टी के जितने योद्धा थे उनके बराबर एक अकेला भीम ही काफी था. He was so extraordinary in his strength. So the particular types of conch shells that are blown by these different personalities, beginning with Shri Krishna himself, why is this being done? To encourage the army, the soldiers. It's a clarion call. You must have seen even in the current world, आपने जब matches देखे हैं, चाहे वो cricket का हो, soccer का हो, तो अपना match शुरू करने से पहले the whole team gathers together, you know, with their arms holding each other, and then they have a goal, a slogan for their particular team, and they shout it loudly to each other just to build up their spirit. हल्ला बोल जैसे बोल कर जाते हैं युद्ध करने के लिए, because without hope, without encouragement, without a soaring spirit, you cannot achieve. You have to win the battle in your heart first before you can actually go on the battlefield and win it. So ये conch shells इसीलिए भी
Again there is problem. नीलम?
मैंने तो अपना वाईफाई ऑफ कर दिया इसीलिए कि वो आने जाना कुछ भी होगा तो डिस्टर्ब करेगा, तो डेटा ऑन कर दिया मोबाइल का.
नहीं, क्योंकि आज दिन भर ना लाइट यहाँ बहुत फ्लिकर हो रही है.
हाँ, इसलिए मैंने अभी डेटा ऑन करके रखा है, वाईफाई को ऑफ कर दिया. वो अभी प्रीति मंगला का भी फ़ोन आया कि मेरा चल नहीं रहा है. मैंने कहा वाईफाई ऑफ करो, बोला कनेक्ट नहीं हो रहा. मैंने वाईफाई ऑफ करके डेटा पे कनेक्ट करो, तो बस मेरा डेटा वाईफाई पे ना वो बस वो ही चल रहा था, तो मैंने इसको ऑफ किया. So because of this light connection, it is creating problem today.
कॉल भी नहीं लग रहा है, फोन भी नहीं है.
कॉल तो लगना चाहिए, कॉल क्यों नहीं लगेगा?
नीलम का एग्जाम है. नीलम?
हाँ
हाँ, अभी तो
तो ऋषिकेश भी भगवान जी का ही नाम है, कृष्ण है ना?
हाँ, कृष्ण ऋषिकेश.
पहले कभी
था मैंने
नहीं बताते.
हाँ नहीं ऋषिकेश का मीनिंग मैंने पढ़ा था।
I used to
Senses.
Master of Senses. Master of Senses. ऋषिकेश.
मास्टर ऑफ
वो तो आज मालूम चला, पहले
मैंने एक बार लिस्ट भेजी थी, उसमें सारे भगवान के जो नाम और उनके सारे मीनिंग्स थे।
ये जो है ना अंजलि, एब्सोल्यूट जैसा याद कर लो।
अभी एब्सोल्यूट भूलेगा ही नहीं कभी।
हाँ, and because of you all of us will remember.
हेलो मोनिका, हेलो प्राची।
Hare Krishna, what's happening again? पता नहीं आज क्या हो रहा है? Even my did it happen with you also?
No, Neelam, Nima, they both are here.
आप वाईफाई को ऑफ कर दो, just use your data, then there will not be any problem.
Yeah, ठीक है। I think मैंने अपने डेटा के साथ-साथ वाईफाई ऑन ही रखा हुआ था, so it must have gone to the. So I have done that now. I've switched off the Wi-Fi. So anyways, we have done the meaning of Dhananjay also. So you can imagine that on the other side, there are no such credits. ना वहाँ पे कृष्ण present है, ना वहाँ पर goddess of fortune है. So they are predestined to lose. All these are very important signs of victory, which the pious can catch very quickly, but those with the enviousness in their heart cannot. So it is very, very important to understand what enviousness means. We all have heard of this term, irsha, dvesh, jealousy, enviousness, and we feel that it's just a part of one of the many vices of the human personality. But in the Bhagavad Gita, in these first few verses, what Krishna is trying to explain here is that enviousness is probably one of the biggest causes of misery in the material world. It's not a small thing, it's not an ordinary thing. Enviousness and jealousy can lead to a world war. World wars are not fought because of lack of food or lack of water or lack of facilities, as our world leaders are trying to teach us or trying to brainwash us into believing that the two world wars that our current world has seen was because of one country not having enough facilities and another country trying to exploit that country because they had facilities. No, it is because of the deep-rooted enviousness in our heart. Jealousy, the definition of jealousy as per the Shastra is that if you want to live by your rights, by your human rights, I don't want to allow you to live by the right to human life. That is the meaning of jealousy. That is the meaning of enviousness. So you can imagine that if you are living peacefully by following all the rules and regulations, not disturbing anyone, yet if the other person is envious of you and still tries to disturb you, what other option do you have? So enviousness is a very great disturbance to the peace of the society, and it is very important for the king of a country or the king of the world to not have an envious nature. And that is why ये युद्ध जो था कुरुक्षेत्र का ordinary युद्ध नहीं है, धर्म युद्ध है, because Duryodhan and Dhritarashtra both were extremely envious by nature. They were extremely jealous by nature. Dhritarashtra was born blind, so he couldn't ascend the throne because the king of the world has to be able-bodied. Yet he could not accept the fact that his younger brother ascended to the throne. However, once the younger brother died, Dhritarashtra's jealousy then came back like a vicious snake and convinced him that now that his younger brother is dead, his elder son, who is not blind and who is able-bodied, is the rightful heir to the throne, and not the elder son of his younger brother. And throughout his youth, this feeling, this notion of Dhritarashtra became stronger and stronger. And Duryodhan and all his 100 brothers were raised in this consciousness of their father. Because whatever consciousness the parents hold, it passes on in a very subtle way to the children. They may not say it aloud in as many words. That is why whoever says that thoughts are not important, this is proof, you know, that it's very important to watch your thoughts. Because if your thoughts are left unguided and unharnessed, they can then convert to actions, and those actions can lead to world war. So jealousy and enviousness is what caused Duryodhan to feel that he is the rightful heir of the throne, and that the Pandavas do not deserve even a speck of land as small as to drive a pin. Because Krishna tried till the end to have a peace settlement between the two. He said, these are Kshatriyas, these 5 brothers, they are your brothers. You know, as a Kshatriya, they cannot live their life like doing business, because their nature is that of a Kshatriya. They need a kingdom to rule. So you take 95%, you take 99% of the land and the wealth of the world. You give them just 5 small villages. Don't you choose the villages. In fact, you give them the 5 most unproductive, neglected, barren villages of this world. You keep all the fertile land, give them barren land. Just give them 5 villages to rule, because as Kshatriyas, they need to rule over something. And what did the arrogant Duryodhan say? I will not give them land even big enough to drive a pin. एक सुई चुभोने जितना भी मैं इनको land नहीं दूंगा. So arrogant and envious he had become. And that's why this war was inevitable. Why? Because if your king, if the king of the world is envious, he will not be able to protect his subjects. He will not be able to guide the people of the world. And if he is not able to give them proper protection, this is what is going on even currently. All the parties in a democracy like ours, the parties are fighting with each other. Nobody is worried about the welfare of the people. They are only fighting out of enviousness. You know, that I want to come into power now, not the other party. And how can I come into power by putting down the other party? So nobody really is bothered about the people of the country who are suffering. This is the root, the big danger of having an envious leader of a country or an envious king for a nation. It's not a small, what is the opposite of equality? मतलब ये कोई छोटी बुरी आदत नहीं है, ये बहुत बड़ी it is a very vicious bad habit. Anartha. ये कोई छोटा मोटा अनर्थ नहीं है. Jealousy is a very big anartha. In fact, this entire material world has been created because of jealousy and enviousness in the hearts of all those people in the spiritual world. We were all in the spiritual world, but because of the birth of jealousy and enviousness in our heart, we had to come to the material world. So it's a cause of great suffering, not just to ourselves, but to the society at large. So a jealous king, an envious king, has to be removed from the throne. He cannot be sitting on the throne if you want world peace. And that is why this was not an ordinary world war. This was a dharam yudh. Because righteous Yudhishthir ko gaddi par bithana tha. Because the heart of Yudhishthir was devoid of jealousy. You can see the heart of Arjun also. He didn't want to fight despite going through all kinds of injustices at the hands of Duryodhan. Yet he had compassion in his heart. आगे चल के आगे के verses में आप देखेंगे. He still had compassion in his heart. He didn't want to fight because they were his relatives and brothers. So that is why it's very important. So you can imagine that with all these bad qualities on the side of the Kaurav, jitni marji facility ho, your wealth cannot save you. Your military cannot save you. Your connections, political connections cannot save you. If your heart is full of these anarthas. So it's, if your heart is clean, that itself is the biggest power. And if it is connected with Madhusudan, if your heart is connected with Madhusudan or Rishikesh, nobody can defeat you. This is another message from this verse. So even though you may be the weakest person, you may not have any military strength, you may not have financial support, you may not have any political connections, yet you will win. That's hope for all of us, isn't it? We have no control over material nature. We have no control over our circumstances. We have no control over COVID. But if we have these two things, that we are connected with Rishikesh and we are able to live according to the tenets of Dharam, we will always be victorious and we will always be protected from danger. So this is the point that is, I don't think you can see my screen, but yeah. So I'll show you in the next, this thing, I don't know whether you can see it right now. एक मैंने table बनाया है, all the names, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 names so far have been used to address Krishna, and their relative meaning, and what is the significance of that meaning now compared to the story that's going on. So I'll just show you this in the next session when hopefully the internet is better. And coming to these verses 16 to 18 that we read, the signs already are very clearly indicated that the whole Kuru dynasty is going to be wiped out. All these are very important pointers, that beginning from grandfather Bhishma down to his great-grandsons like Abhimanyu, and all the kings from all the different parts of the world, they're all doomed. They're all doomed to death. And why is this happening? Why is this world war happening, by the way? Only because of King Dhritarashtra and the enviousness and jealousy in the heart of Dhritarashtra. It's not that he was not counseled. Time and again, Vidur counseled him, Bhishma counseled him. In the end, Krishna himself came and counseled him. But enviousness blinds good reasoning. And all those who try to counsel you, you feel that they are not your well-wishers. You feel that they are envious of you. An envious person feels that people who are guiding him and giving him good counsel are actually envious of him. So as a result, he stops listening to them. And world wars happen. So we can apply, we can learn from this. Of course, world war jaisi scenario to hamari life mein nahi hota hai, but house wars bahut hote hain. We have wars within families. We have wars between different members of our families, extended families. If you go to the root of all the conflict, just analyze and see whether enviousness is the cause anywhere. And more often than not, you will find that it is one of the primary reasons. Yeah. So let's read verse 19. We have covered till 18. Verse 19, Bharti, aap padhenge?
Let me try.
Okay.
Sa ghoshe dhritarashtrana hridayani vedarata nabhashcha prithvim chaiva tumulo abhaya nunadayana.
Okay, translation.
The blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious, vibrating both in the sky and on the earth. It shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra.
Okay. Now, in the previous verses, आप लोगों ने जब सुना है और पढ़ा है, कहीं पे भी ये मेंशन नहीं है, सिर्फ यही मेंशन है that Bhishma blew his conch shell like the roar of a lion, right? And all the others also, there was a tumultuous sound. All the bugles and trumpets were blown and there was a tumultuous sound. But nowhere is it mentioned that it shattered the hearts. That's mentioned only when the Pandavas blew their conch shells. It says that it shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. Why? Why do you think that उनका जब conch shell blow हुआ तब ऐसा कोई इफेक्ट पांडवों की पार्टी में किसी का नहीं हुआ? Even their most foot soldier, उनका जो lowest rank of army है, foot soldier, उसका भी दिल shatter नहीं हुआ जब भीष्म ने और सभी कौरवों ने मिलकर अपना conch shell बजाया. बट जब पांडवों ने अपना conch shell बजाया तो वहां के बड़े से बड़ा योद्धा भी जो था कौरवों का, his heart got shattered. Why? This is the power of righteousness. This is the power of the side that is on the path of dharma. जो धर्म के मार्ग पे होता है, जो righteousness के मार्ग पे होता है, उसकी ध्वनि, उसका जो clarion call है, that shatters the heart of the demonic, because जो demoniac log हैं, the heart of hearts, they know that they are wrong. It's not that they are not aware. The Chaitya Guru, the Paramatma sitting in our heart, is always guiding us between good and bad. We choose to ignore him and we choose to cover his counsel. But deep down we know that we are on the path of adharam. So in such a condition, all the Kauravas knew that they were on the, and सबके अलग-अलग reasons थे to take the side of Duryodhana. Most of them were out of obligation. Some were out of fear because he was very powerful at that time. So none of them were on his side because they were on the path of dharma. धर्म का साथ देने के लिए उसके साइड पे नहीं थे, अपनी मजबूरियों की वजह से उसके साइड पे थे. And therefore जब इन्होंने अपना शंख बजाया, it shattered their hearts. So in their heart they had already lost their war. Now सिर्फ एक formality बची थी to finish their body. By their mind and heart they had already they felt doomed already. So it's very significant. Just the beginning of the युद्ध, अभी युद्ध शुरू भी नहीं हुआ है, but they have already conceded defeat in their heart. So one who takes shelter of the Supreme Lord has nothing to fear, even in the midst of the greatest calamity. This is the conclusion of this. Yes, this verse. Verse 20 कर लेते हैं. How much time do we have? Oh, we have time.
5:17.
Okay, we have time. Verse 20. Vaiji है हमारी?
Yes, Vanita.
Yeah, Vaiji. You have
Okay.
good pronunciation.
Thank you. Ata vyavasthitan drishtva dadarashtran kapidvaja pravrte shastra sampade dhanuruddham yas pandavah rishikesham tada vakyam idamahamahipate. At that time, Arjuna, the son of Pandu, seated in the chariot bearing the flag marked with Hanuman, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows. O king, after looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra drawn in military array, Arjuna then spoke to Lord Krishna these words.
Yeah. So it's very significant, the name of Hanuman here. Hanuman was in Satyug. Ram appeared in Treta, है ना, Bharti? Yeah. So, so Hanuman also appeared in Treta Yug, and now this is another Yug. This is Dwapar Yug. But Hanuman is Chiranjeevi. So while all his peers or contemporaries of Satyug had now passed away, but Hanuman continued continues to be present. In fact, Dwapar ke baad ab Kalyug bhi aa gaya hai, but Hanuman still continues to be present. So he saw the appearance of Ram, and he also saw the appearance of Krishna. And there is in Mahabharat, there is a chance meeting of Bhim and Hanuman, and where Hanuman Bhim ko apni ताकत का घमंड हो गया था. So Hanuman came, thought it was time to chastise him as his younger brother, because, and both are brothers. How both are brothers? Because they are both Vayuputra. दोनों के father Vayudev हैं. So therefore they are brothers. So Hanuman was, of course, he is now very old, completely white hair, and he is lying on the ground. और हनुमान जब उनको cross करके जाने की कोशिश करते हैं, in Vedic era, it was even now many people follow कि it is not a matter of etiquette. अगर आप किसी सोए हुए व्यक्ति को लांग कर जाओ, उनके ऊपर से नहीं जाया जाता. You request them to give you some way, because they don't want to cross over you. So there was a very narrow passage जहाँ पे हनुमान की पूंछ was lying on the ground, and Bhim had no place to pass. So he thought it's an ordinary monkey, and I'll just tell the monkey to move aside. And he tells him that, who are you? Please move aside. I have to go. I'm in a hurry. So he says, I'm very old. You can see I'm so old. I can't even lift my own tail by myself. Can you please lift it and put it on the side? And then you can pass. So Bhim said, oh, that's no big deal. With a flick of my little finger, I can just move. So he tried to move it aside, but it wouldn't move. So he said, okay, let me use my whole hand. It still couldn't move. He said, okay, let me use both my hands. He still could not pick up the tail and move it aside. And then when he thought this is something unusual, he tried all his strength. Remember, we just learned he's a Vrikodar, which means he has the strength of many, many elephants, all in one. He could not pick up the tail of a mere monkey. And when he was profusely perspiring and he couldn't budge it even a millimeter, that's when he realized that he is no ordinary person. And he immediately, with folded palms, said, please reveal your identity. Who are you? This is something extraordinary. And that's when Hanuman reveals himself, and he says that, I'm your elder brother, Hanuman. And Bhim learns a lesson in humility that day. So that's when the Pandavas were introduced to Hanuman. And Hanuman was then, जब ये अनिवार्य हो जाता है कि अब विश्व युद्ध होगा, the Pandavas approached him once again for help, and they said that you were the foremost सेनापति जब राम रावण का युद्ध हुआ था. So kindly be on our side and help us, because again this is a world war, and we will need every help that we can muster. So Hanuman told them that he will be there on their dhwaj, on the chariot of Arjun. So you can see all these signs of victory. Hanuman, the mere presence of Hanuman means victory. Why? Because one, he is a devotee of the Lord. We have just learned that if you are a devotee of the Lord, what can happen with you. And dusra, he is a symbol, an emblem of humility. His humility itself is a very big strength of Hanuman. So when Hanuman is there on the victory flag of the chariot, similarly Lord Krishna is there to guide and counsel Arjun and the Kauravas. And the goddess of fortune is present there as the consort of Krishna. All these are assurances that already you are victorious. You have won the battle. There is no doubt that you will not win. So Arjun's victory is assured. Krishna himself is personally present there. He's taken control of Arjun's heart and his senses. What more can you want for? When there is somebody who's taking care of your heart and all the impurities in your heart, you can rest assured that you will never suffer from jealousy and enviousness, isn't it? So Arjun's flag on the chariot, which carries an emblem of Hanuman, is a sign of victory. Krishna's presence is a sign of victory. Lakshmi Devi's presence there, the goddess of fortune, is a sign of victory. So in such conditions, arranged by the Lord for his eternal devotee, lay the signs of assured victory. Okay? So 21 to 22. Both the verses together. Aap padhenge, Vaiji?
I'll do that.
Yeah.
Arjuno vacha senayor madhye ratham stapaya mechuta yavat yetam rishikesham yodukaman avastitan kairmaya sahayodavyam asmin rana samyudhyame. Arjuna said, "O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those present here who desire to fight and with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms."
Okay. So again, a very important word is used here, infallible. Can you mute that, please? Achyuta. Achyut का मतलब है one who never fails.
Vanita, unmute yourself. Vanita, unmute yourself.
Oh, how did that happen? Okay. Okay, so here the very significant word is Achyuta. Krishna is now being addressed in this verse as Achyut. Again, there is a significance what he is trying to convey by using this word. Achyut ka matlab hai infallible. Infallible means he who never fails. Chut means he who fails. But Achyuta means he who never fails. Alternatively, it also means he who is never wrong. He is always right. That's the meaning of Achyuta. So here Krishna, he never fails in his affection for his devotees. He is called Bhakta Vatsal. That is why Krishna is also called Bhakta Vatsal, which means that he is very, very, his devotees are very dear to him. He cares for them like a parent with a lot of love. So he never fails in his affection for his devotees, in the protection of his devotees, in coming to their rescue for his devotees. And therefore, he is addressed as Achyut here. Now, वैसे तो वो पार्था सारथी है. So as a sarthi, charioteer, he has to carry out Arjun's orders. And since he is a devotee, Arjun is a devotee, Krishna does not hesitate to take his orders. मैंने आपको I think previously बताया है. In olden days, in those days, the position of a sarthi used to be physically lower. The charioteer has to sit at an elevated position. Sarthi sits on a position lower than him for all practical purposes to draw the chariot. And sarthi के हाथ में reins होती हैं horses की. So the charioteer, the yodha who is sitting on the chariot, is so busy fighting because he has to be aware of weapons coming from any direction. And he has to take split seconds. In split seconds, he has to be shooting his arrows. एक second की भी अगर देरी हो गई, it could be the difference between life and death. So he has absolutely no time to think about the chariot and which direction to take the chariot from. And sometimes there is no time even to give directions to the charioteer. So the position is so designed that the person who is sitting, he places both his feet on the shoulders of the Sarathi. उसके कंधे पे अपने दोनों पांव रख कर वो बैठता है और पूरे जोर से. You can, Arjun is not an ordinary Yodha. He is, you know, a strong warrior. So by no means are his feet soft and gentle. You know, they are strong, and he has to constantly tell the Sarathi to turn left, turn right, go straight, go back. 360 degrees में घुमाना है उन्होंने अपना chariot, because weapons, you can be attacked from any side at any time. So at every given time, he has to change the gear. Gear change करने जैसे automatic गाड़ी के gear change करने होते हैं. How do you do that? Hands free. अभी हमारे पास तो hands free है, but supposing you have to do the steering wheel also, how do you change gears? So he used to kick the charioteer. वो kick करते थे कृष्ण को. अगर लेफ्ट कंधे पे किक करते थे मतलब लेफ्ट मोड़ो, राइट कंधे पे किक करना मतलब राइट मोड़ो, और पीठ पे अगर बीच में किक किया मतलब go straight. So there were various kinds of communications between the charioteer and the Sarathi, but the communication was through kicking. You can imagine the quality of Lord, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Bhakta Vatsal. He voluntarily took the position of a Sarathi to receive the kicks of Arjun out of his love for Arjun. If you give devotion to Krishna, just see what he can give you back in return. He agrees to become your Sarathi and take your kicks. This is the meaning of Bhakta Vatsal. So who wouldn't want to surrender to the Lord? You know, this is the quality, this is the meaning of God, this is the meaning of Supreme Personality of Godhead. कि उन्होंने voluntarily, it's not that Arjun told him that you become my Sarathi. He agreed. He said, I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to fight in this battle because Kaurav और Pandav दोनों ही मेरे रिश्तेदार हैं. So I'm going to take a neutral position. So मैं ऐसा करता हूँ, I will become your charioteer. He voluntarily took that position. You know, this is the magnanimity of Vasudev Krishna, of Rishikesh, of Achyuta, Govinda. Yeah. So he accepted the position of a charioteer for his devotee. The relationship between the Lord and his servitor, apna sevak, is very sweet and transcendental. Why? क्योंकि जो सेवक हैं, servitor मतलब सेवक, the servitor is always ready to render service to the Lord. But similarly, the Lord is also always seeking an opportunity to render some service to his devotee. And throughout history, you will see this. जब सुदामा कृष्ण से मिलने गए तो उनको बिठाकर उनके चरण धोए उन्होंने और मसाज किए उनके पैर for a long time. This is Krishna. He even took the curse of Gandhari. He took the curse of his devotees. जब उनके भक्त गुस्से में आकर उनको श्राप दे देते थे जो गंधारी ने किया, that may you become vanshaheen, may you become bereft of any lineage, may all your sons die, all your grandsons die. He accepted it. Bhakta Vatsal. These are harsh words, these are harsh curses. But because Gandhari had surrendered to him and accepted him as her Lord, as Rishikesh, he accepted even her curse out of his reciprocation of love for her. This is surrender. This is the meaning of surrender. If you become his servant, he becomes your servant. He says, I have nothing to give you in return for your servitorship. I can become your servant in return. Imagine the Lord of the universe is telling the gopis of Vrindavan that in return to your devotion, your complete surrender to me, I have nothing to give you. जो पूरी सृष्टि के रचना करता है, सारी riches के जो मालिक हैं, कह रहे हैं मेरे पास कुछ नहीं है देने के लिए आपको, इसके बदले में मैं आपका सेवक बनना चाहता हूँ. That is the heart of the Lord. So there is all benefit in becoming a servant of Krishna. All benefit. just as Arjun did, just as the Pandavas did. Yeah. So he takes greater pleasure in his pure devotees assuming a higher position than him. जैसे as parents, जब हमारे बच्चे हमसे आगे निकल जाते हैं, when they grow taller than us, when they grow stronger than us, when they get more educated than us, when they are more successful than us, there is no enviousness in our heart. We are very happy for them. That's exactly what Krishna feels when his devotees outdo him or tried to outdo him in servitorship, in serving him. So even though they have an advantageous position of ordering him around, he takes that position very humbly and very eagerly. Okay, Arjun, you become the chariot and I will become your Sathi. He takes that position. He is the master. Everyone is under his orders. No one is above him to order him. But when he finds that a pure devotee is ordering him, he gets pleasure from that. Although he is Achyut. मतलब आप में quality होना अच्युत की, उसके बावजूद to take the position of a servant is a very big exalted quality, isn't it? And that quality is the difference between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and ordinary people like us. So I think we should stop here. We have done till verse 22. And I've written a few points that I just want to bring about. ये जो verses हमने chant किए, we know that it is very auspicious to chant the verses of the Bhagavad Gita. Now these few verses that we have chanted, especially verses 6, 7, 8, 9, इसमें बहुत सारे योद्धाओं के नाम दिए हैं, है ना? That these were the people in the army, they were blowing, these were the different warriors. है ना? There was Kashiraj, Yudhamanyu, Purujit, Uttamauj, Kunti Bhoj, Saibya, Chetikan, Drishtaketu. So a question, Vikarna, Som, Datta, Jayadrat, ये सारे verses हैं, verse 4 से लेके verse 9 तक. So a question can be asked that what merit is there in chanting these names of these warriors? In verses का जाप करने से, in verses को chant करने से, भला क्या इसमें auspiciousness hai? What merit are we going to get? So whoever is attached to Krishna, automatically he becomes auspicious. All these warriors are, the names of these warriors have been spoken in attachment to Krishna. Even if they were enemies of Krishna and they were fighting against him, still the connection with Krishna is there. So all those who feel that, oh, Krishna induced Arjun to fight and he induced a world war, they should know that Kurukshetra ke युद्ध में सभी मारे गए. Except the 5 Pandavas, nobody was left alive. All the millions of people died. They were completely wiped out. Nobody survived. And each person who died in the presence of Krishna was liberated. चाहे वो कौरव की साइड से था या वो पांडव की साइड से था. So imagine अगर कृष्ण से दुश्मनी करने पर लिबरेशन मिल सकती है, तो कृष्ण से दोस्ती करने पर क्या मिलेगा? All of these were, they were knowingly, everybody knew. Dhritarashtra, Dhritarashtra also, Dronacharya, Bhishma Dev, all of them knew that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is Bhagwan himself. Yet they chose to fight against him, knowingly. And similarly, many in the Kaurav army also knew. And they were all awarded liberation. So imagine if by enmity with Krishna can get you liberation, उनके साथ उनका सर्वाइटर बनके, उनका भक्त बनके क्या मिलेगा आपको? You will achieve Krishna himself. Yeah? So there is all auspiciousness in chanting these verses, even if you are chanting the names of these warriors that come in between, because all of them were connected with Krishna at that point in time in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So they are all liberated souls. Even Kans was liberated, Ravan was liberated, Hiranyakashipu was liberated. They all had the bhav, the feeling of enmity with Krishna, enviousness with Krishna. Surely, of course, they will not get love of Krishna. That distinction, that remains only for his bhaktas. Yeah. So that was a very nice point that I came across. And creation and destruction coexist in the world. इसको आप ऐसे समझ सकते हैं, the moment this material world has been created, already its destruction has also simultaneously been generated. That's the nature of the material world. जैसे खेत में अगर आपको धान उगाना होता है तो पहले उसमें से weeds और जो जंगली घास है वो खाड़नी पड़ती है. Weeds have to be destroyed before rice can be created, can be brought to life, can be sown. So both creation and destruction coexist. That is the nature of this material world. If there is happiness, there will be distress. If there are friends, there will be enemies. If there is, so you cannot escape them as long as you are in the material world. The only way out, the only way to escape is by surrendering to the lotus feet of Krishna. Then you are safe. Yeah. Yeah. And ninth, इस एक वर्स में दुर्योधन uses the word धीमताम, जिसमें धी means intelligence and mat मतलब owner. जो intelligence का owner है, जो intelligence को own करता है, उसको कहते हैं धीमताम. So one who is intelligent, he was saying this with connection with Drishtadumna. He was शुरू में he was trying to taunt द्रोणाचार्य कि ये जिस दृष्टद्युम्न को आप ही ने कोच किया, ट्रेन किया in the science of military, knowing fully well that he has been born just to kill you, that same Drishtadumna has become the commander of chief of the Pandav army, and look how skillfully he has arranged their military phalanx, जिसको हमारी इतनी vast size की सेना भी break नहीं कर सकती. ऐसी formation उसने, this intelligence has been given to him by you only, you have trained him. तो इस तरह से वो instigate कर रहा था द्रोणाचार्य को, that now you better fight with all your might because you've already made this mistake. Okay. So, yeah. Any questions?
What was the word just now you used? You said it's in text 9.
Dhimatam.
It is in third, Dhimata.
Okay.
Yeah. It is not there in 9th. That's what I mean.
Okay.
Yeah, it is in third.
Verse में वैशाली?
Third.
Okay. Dhimata. Okay.
That's the significance. Okay. So Do you know why we are reading the Bhagavad Gita? What is the primary cause of reading the Bhagavad Gita? It is to make people non-envious, make people non-jealous. Simply by reciting the verses of Bhagavad Gita and reading the Bhagavad Gita every day, this enviousness and jealousy, which is a part of our DNA, none of us can claim that it's not there, will start getting wiped out from our hearts. That's the importance of reading the Bhagavad Gita. And we have all learned now today that enviousness is not an ordinary thing. It's not a small thing. It can cause world wars. It can break families. It can break. So it is our number one enemy. So the way to overcome enviousness or jealousy is to read the Bhagavad Gita every day. Just like Dhritarashtra. Imagine कि वर्ल्ड वॉर हो रहा है, कौरव पांडव खड़े हैं, एंड धृतराष्ट्र का क्या कंसर्न है? संजय को क्या पूछ रहा है? व्हाट डिड दे डू? क्या किया दोनों ने? उसका ये कंसर्न है कि कहीं संधि तो नहीं हो रही. वो युद्ध चाहता है. ही वांट्स कि पांडव मर जाएं और दुर्योधन गद्दी पे बैठे और वो दुनिया का राजा बने. So उसका कंसर्न ये नहीं है कि युद्ध हो रहा है. उसका कंसर्न है युद्ध कहीं संधि ना हो जाए, कॉम्प्रोमाइज ना हो जाए. This is the result of years and years and years of practicing enviousness. All good reason leaves you.
So wouldn't he realize that since Krishna was on the side of the Pandavas, so I mean there's hardly any chance of their winning?
He did, but enviousness clouds your intelligence. You are no longer dhimatam. It blinds you. Jealousy blinds your intelligence and reasoning. So even if people are there to advise you and your very own family and close confidants are there to advise you, you will look at them like enemies. And you will not take good counsel. Like I mentioned, that he was advised time and again that what he's doing is very wrong. And he only suffered in the end. He got the result of his enviousness in this life itself, immediately. He had to see the death of his 100 sons. The biggest punishment that any parent can have. He paid a big price. But at that time, because he was so blinded, he wouldn't take good counsel. So please memorize the verse if you haven't already, and read these verses up till 22 that we have done till now. It is purifying to read the Bhagavad Gita even if you don't understand it. These verses are not ordinary verses. All of them are linked with Krishna. Hence, they are all auspicious. Okay? Any questions? So,
you can check the Wi-Fi now. If it is working, we can see the slides.
Okay.
It's not working on Wi-Fi. Can you check?
Wi-Fi is working?
It's not working.
Still not working?
Still not on.
Achha, no, my son is
turning it off because I thought this was
It's not working. तुम्हारा काम कर रहा है क्या?
No problem. I'll just check.
No, my son said it's not working. We did up till verses 22?
Yeah. Yes.
(23) भी कर लेते हैं because my slide is till 23. We still have 10 minutes. So YG has already left. Who else wants to read? योत्स्यमानान् अवेक्ष्यहं य एते अत्र समागताः धृतराष्ट्रस्य दुर्बुद्धिर् युद्धे प्रिया चिकीर्षवः. Let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded sons of Dhritarashtra. Anjali, can you read the purport?
Yeah, sure. It was an open secret that Duryodhan wanted to usurp the kingdom of the Pandavas by evil plans in collaboration with his father Dhritarashtra. Therefore, all persons who had joined the side of Duryodhan must have been birds of the same feather. Arjun wanted to see them on the battlefield before the fight was begun, just to learn who they were. But he had no intention of proposing peace negotiations with them. It was also a fact that he wanted to see them to make an estimate of the strength which he had to face, although he was quite confident of victory because Krishna was sitting by his side.
Yeah. So Arjun wanted to see all those supporters who had come to please evil-minded Duryodhan. He's saying that to Krishna, that take me, Yudh ready here. Arjun is already on his chariot, yet instead of firing his arrow, still he says, let me go and check who has come to fight against me. Because, see, please understand the psychology of Arjun. Although it's a world war, it's a family war. It's not easy when you have to fight against your own people. The grandfather who has raised you on his knee, the teacher who has taught you all his life, the children with whom you have gone to school together, played together. All these are the people on the opposite side standing against him. All his uncles who raised him as a child, because they didn't have their parents, right? They didn't have their father. So they were raised by all these people, their father figures, and now they're all standing against them to fight. So you can imagine his psychology, how difficult it must have been for him. Yet, he says he was confident of victory because Krishna was sitting by his side. This is one of the most difficult positions that one can be in. But if you have become a devotee of Krishna and you've surrendered to the feet of Krishna, there is no anxiety in your heart. You're confident that you will be victorious. Also, he wanted to see who are those people who think and feel like Duryodhan. Because all the kings of the world were given a choice to join either party. So many came and joined Pandavas, but many came and joined Duryodhan. So he really wanted to see who are these kind of people who agree with the philosophy of Duryodhan, knowing his entire life history, how he has behaved. Who are these people who, given a choice, out of choice, are going against Krishna to fight from the side of Arjun. So, being a pure devotee of the Lord, Arjun had no desire to fight. But he wanted to see how much his relatives and friends were bent upon demanding an unwanted war. He wanted to see these birds of a feather who flock together, the Kauravas.
But Vanita, this was just the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. So up till now, Arjun was treating Krishna as his friend. So later when Krishna talks the Bhagavad Gita, so he comes to know everything about him. So pehle kaise he is confident ki because Krishna is sitting by my side, so he's confident of victory.
So it's not that he did not know that Krishna is not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All the Pandavas, Yudhishthir, they all knew that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Their mother knew that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But having said that, he knew that he is God, but his attachment to him was that of a friend. His bhav with Krishna, interaction with Krishna was that of a So I have made that slide. I will show it in the next time, the 5 rasas. Although we know that all of us know now that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, yet we will not have the same relationship with Krishna. We will have one of these 5 relationships with Krishna, whichever is most predominant in our nature. So Arjun's ras bhav was Sakhya ras, that of a friend. And Krishna likes that. Krishna likes to enjoy these relationships with his devotees. That is why he's called Rasaraj. Abhi rason ka raja. Because he has all the rasas in him. Unhi se to ye ras hamare mein aa rahe hain. So while hamare mein maybe 1 or 2 may be predominant, Krishna has all of them. And therefore he interacts with all of them, because Krishna is one and these souls are millions. So he is interacting with all the millions of souls in so many different rasas. Whereas each soul has to interact with just one Krishna. Isn't that wonderful? How he must be interacting with so many souls. Unginat, millions and millions of souls.
I have one question. जैसे
Yes,
ये सब 5 रसा है, साख्य रस, दास्य रस, but जो envious and jealousy है, वो कहाँ से आती है?
So, like I told you, people who are liberated do not get love of God, right? For that they have to work. So they don't get any of these rasas. At best they can reach Vaikunt. जहाँ पे एक ही रस है, दास्य रस. Vishnu is Bhagwan and I am his sevak. Or Shant ras. But love of God and to enjoy what the gopis and gopas are enjoying, for that you have to develop love for Krishna. That enmity with Krishna cannot get you. So liberation, that is why the devotees of Krishna reject liberation. They're not interested in liberation at all. Because liberation to Hiranyakashipu ko bhi mil gayi thi. So it's not a very great thing. Why struggle so much then with bhakti yoga? अगर दुश्मनी कृष्ण से enviousness करके भी अगर liberation मिल जाती है तो फिर भक्ति करने की जरूरत ही क्या है? You will not enjoy those rasas. Surely, that cream is available only to devotees. Okay? So we will close with closing prayers. Ekam Shastram Devaki Putra Geetam Eko Devo Devaki Putra Eva Eko Mantras Tasya Namani Yani Karmapi Ekam Tasya Devasya Seva Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhu Cha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय हरये परमात्मने प्रणतक्लेशनाशाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः।
गोविन्दाय नमो नमः।
कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंद गोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः।
गोविन्दाय नमो नमः।
वसुदेवं सुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कात्यायनी महामाये महायोगिनी अधीश्वरी नंद गोपसुतं देवी पतिं मे कुरुते नमः। श्री कृष्ण शरणं मम दासोऽहं कृष्ण तवास्मि हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय
जय।
ओके, हरि बोल।
हरि बोल।
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much.
Last class you mentioned something about Mahatma Das, that you will share some video or something.
I don't recall. What was it about?
Some Mahatma Das you mentioned, some Prabhuji.
About how to raise your children in spirituality. What to do and what not to do. Yeah, there is an interview that was taken. I'll share that interview with you. Let me do it now. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.